All right, I think we're probably ready to get started. Patrick, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we were going to, we just launched a number of major initiatives and we're about to launch one more. And so we figured we'd do kind of a general overview of some of those things and also just make ourselves available to answer any questions that pop up by all of you who are here. So please be interactive, take advantage of the chat, yes, or the Q&A. The three of us will be monitoring it and making sure we can dive into those topics. If we don't immediately jump on it, it's not because we didn't see it. It's because we might just know that we're about to pivot to that topic in a second. So we will, I promise you, we will get to everyone's questions. Um, to start off, Henry, I was thinking we kind of probably recap our last major launch, which was the public beta of Outlook support. And so we can do a quick walkthrough of that for anyone who uses Microsoft at your probably work. What we've observed, I don't want to presume or assume anything, but what we've observed is most people are using Microsoft Calendar platform primarily at work and often usually have Google or sometimes Apple for their home. But you could be using Microsoft for both home and work, or you could even use Microsoft Outlook for home and Google at work. There's lots of different configurations. And the most important thing is that we actually support it now, and it's available for everybody. Couple things to note. If you have not signed up for Reclaim before, ever, if you're here listening in and you've never signed up for Reclaim, you can sign up directly for an Outlook account that is available on our website. If you have signed up for Reclaim before, perhaps with like a personal Gmail account, and you were waiting for Microsoft support, we would not recommend that you create a new separate Reclaim account. Reclaim is all about protecting and helping you with your time management for all facets of your life. And so we strongly recommend people keep one Reclaim account for all of their needs. And it's so what you can do instead is go to settings, calendars, and you will see a place where you can add an account, and there'll be an option to add a Microsoft account. And when you do that, you are in the beta, and there may be a small migration we have to do because there's some back-end platform changes. But that's all you have to do, and you're in. All right. So on that note, I'm going to pull up a screen that has a. Unfortunately, I don't have a Henry, unless you have one like at your fingertips. I don't have a not onboarded Microsoft account. I have a post onboarded Microsoft account. I think that's sufficient for this quick demo. But yeah, that's you can jump in if you. Nope, you're not jumping in, so we're going to go with that. All right. So here we are. This is one of my test accounts on Microsoft, and it looks exactly like regular Reclaim. Probably nothing new and surprising here. That settings section I mentioned is right here, settings, calendars. And like I said, click add another account. This should be available for all of you today. If it is not for some reason, please let us know, but I'm pretty sure it is available for everybody. And if you click add Outlook, like I said, that'll be where you see that migration step if necessary. You can, of course, add multiple Outlook accounts and multiple Google accounts. And that's one of the great things about Reclaim. Often people have at least two calendars that they juggle in their life, and sometimes three, four, five, six. I think we've met some customers who had like eight or nine as embedded consultants. So life can get crazy in the world of calendaring. Okay, so you can see here, I've got my Microsoft account set up, and here is my Outlook calendar that represents that calendar. Everything should look exactly the same as you've experienced before. Again, if you're familiar with Reclaim, you should see events synchronize in both directions. So momentarily here, we'll see that test event appear. We have found that Microsoft synchronization is just slightly slower than Google, although we're working on ways to speed that up. And so hopefully we'll see it here in a sec. I'm going to go ahead and create a habit while we're waiting. If you're wondering what this focus thing is, we're going to come back to that in a second. That is our other major project that we're underway on, and we're in a private beta on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a lunch habit. That's one of our most popular habits. You can see I'm putting it on that Microsoft calendar as a reminder. As of sometime mid last year, we support scheduling scheduling links, smart meetings, habits, tasks, all on different calendars. And so you can configure which calendar you want it to go to. In this case, I'm just going to do that Microsoft calendar because that's the only one I've got set up here. I'm going to go ahead and set that up. And we will see that the scheduling should be happening here. Unless, of course, this is a good example of why we're in a beta. Henry, if you want to go check and see, oh, there we go. It's coming in here. Okay, so you can see here we've got this little Microsoft logo for that test event that I popped in there. You will also notice that on Google, you've probably seen a Google Calendar icon. That's been there for a while, and we were doing that as part of this launch and getting ready to help you distinguish between whether it was on a Microsoft calendar or a Google Calendar. So here we can see that test event. And momentarily, we should also see those lunch events starting to get scheduled out here and also back on the Reclaim planner. Anything else that we want to highlight while these items are getting scheduled, Henry? Um,
No, I think the only other thing to note is that there are a couple of features today that are not yet supported on Microsoft.
yes.
Um, One of the there's a whole doc here that Patrick's pulling up that'll have kind of a full list of where we're at in the beta. One of the features that you'll note, and you'll see a call out to it in the UI, is color coding for all events. You can still color code your Reclaim events, so things like habits and tasks. But in a moment, actually, a PR should be going out fairly soon to disable that button if you have Outlook as your primary, and it'll say it's not yet supported. And so I believe that one, and then detected meetings for smart meetings are not yet there. And then there's a couple of other smart meeting related areas that we still haven't sussed out. But for the most part, pretty much everything that Reclaim does today is now supported on Outlook, and we're really excited to share it with you.
Yeah, this one I will call out. From a functionality standpoint, smart meetings definitely work, and we've got lots of customers using them. But one thing to be aware of is that Outlook does not, like at a core, it has nothing to do with Reclaim. Outlook, the calendar platform itself, does not have quite the same amount of options around choosing when to send notifications to the attendees about meeting event changes. So if you're familiar with Google Calendar, you might know that when you make a change, maybe you move the event, the time of the event, or even just a small change, like change the title or the address. You can choose to say, send this update, send an email to the attendees or don't. And it's more of like a silent update. And so it'll still be on their calendar, but they won't have an email in their inbox. Microsoft does not have that option, or I should say it does, but only in very narrow cases, pretty much only when you're adding or removing attendees. And as a result, the entire purpose of smart meetings, which is moving things around to adapt to your schedule, will produce notifications and send them to those attendees. And so we're in talks with Microsoft about things we can possibly do to make that a little less noisy. And we're exploring ways where we can kind of limit the amount of times things will move. The downside of that is it may appear on your calendar as if there are conflicts for a certain amount of time. But perhaps we'll do things like let the conflict exist until you're ready to move it and more kind of promote the change for you rather than automatically move it, just so that your attendees don't get lots of email notifications. Um, Okay, so coming back over here. Oh, good. My lunch habits have scheduled, and so we can see it looks just like Reclaim, the Reclaim you're used to. I've got lunch scheduled out. We do all of the same tricks that we do with that we've been doing for Google. So, for example, this lunch is going to be scheduled as free time right now. And that's because there's nothing else on my calendar. If someone in my Outlook corporate environment were looking to find time to meet with me, they would not see this lunch event. It's private and it's free. This is the way we've always done habits. And what's cool about that is that it makes sure that you present maximum availability without risking getting that habit done. And so if my day started filling up and I was running out of time in that lunch window, then it would flip to busy and you would see it more like you see here, filled in. We actually really like that Outlook shows a visual difference between free and busy. Google does not. And so that's one of the cool differences in Outlook. So if you see this little kind of lighter shaded color and this lock emoji right here, that's intentional, and it's a little confusing because that doesn't mean that the habit is locked in place. We do have that concept, and you'll see the lock emoji in front of the title. What this really means is it's private. That's the in Outlook, that's the icon for being private. And then when it's not free anymore, when it's getting defended by Reclaim, then it will flip to not private so that people can see it and they can see you're busy and find a different time to meet with you. Okay. Elizabeth, have any Outlook questions popped up?
We do have one from Brian. I don't know if we have this set up, if you have a calendar sync set up, but he asked, can you test an event created in Google with meeting details and see if those event details show up in the Outlook calendar? Please and thank you. I can't see meeting details like a Zoom link in the Outlook calendar synced event. Thanks.
Got it. Yeah, Brian, I don't think I can quickly do it here. I don't unfortunately just have this is like a different Chrome tab, and I'd have to go through all sorts of authentication hoops at the moment. But we can make a note to double check that. If you're finding that those details are not coming over, that might be a subtle thing in particular, I'm guessing, around the native conference data that is encoded in a Google Calendar event. When we go Google to Google, we can just pull that straight over. We also pull over the description verbatim. I know that when we go from Google to Microsoft, we pull the description over verbatim as well. But it sounds like the conference metadata object, which is the thing that kind of has that nice join button inside a Google Calendar, needs to get transposed because Microsoft does not have that concept at all. And so it sounds like perhaps some of those conference details are not in the description, or maybe they are, but not as robust. Often the conference details have things like telephone numbers, join links, and whatnot, and we'll need to copy those over as well.
Yeah.
I will also note that Calendar Sync, just as I think it sounds like you know this, Brian, but Calendar Sync by default, if you use one of our first or two of our four privacy options, will not copy over conference details at all. And that is intentional. It is meant to protect your privacy. It won't copy the title, the description, or the conference details. It will just put a generic block that says personal commitment, for example, or work commitment, depending on some settings, or just busy. Henry, were you going to say something?
I was actually just going to show that section of calendar sync in case it's useful to refer to it. I think you don't have a second calendar, so
yeah,
I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it.
I'll come back to that in a second. I've got another Chrome profile with another account that I can do. So, do we have any other questions? I see one that just came in, which I can ask, or I can address immediately, Elizabeth. Alex is asking about ways to block out entire days for special an entire day of a calendar. Let's see, but it's still, I only ever see the holiday event on that day, but it's still possible to schedule appointments, tasks, and habits for that day. So Alex, your question, it could be for Outlook, it could be for Google. The answer to some degree is kind of the same, but it is potentially slightly different in terms of like what you're seeing over here in terms of holidays. For example, you can see like United Kingdom holidays. I don't know why Outlook pulled that one in for me because we set this account up in the US. And then on Google, there's lots of different holiday calendars you can pull in. So a couple notes I'll say about holidays and whatnot. Holidays are a tricky topic, and holiday calendars are a tricky topic, generally speaking. The holiday calendars that you get from Microsoft and Google are often not going to align with the holidays that your company is taking. And so we and most everybody else in the calendar ecosystem have not done things like made it so that if you subscribe to, a calendar like this, that it will automatically mark you as busy. Generally speaking, Alex and everybody else, what we found is that companies provide region-specific corporate holidays that are the actual observed holidays to block out. And so those, first thing would be those would be the ones that you'd probably want to subscribe to more so than generic company holidays. Even then, often those calendars, wherever they came from, are often marked as free. By default on calendar platforms, all-day events are free time. Your corporate holiday calendar might be different, and ideally they have set it up that way that they'll mark it as busy. And the benefit of that is that you could, if you can get a corporate calendar subscription, and you can ask your company, hopefully they have one, or they might want to set one up. Then you can go set up a calendar sync, or that copies that over and blocks it out, or just mark it as a connected calendar. So if you subscribe to that corporate holiday or that corporate calendar, you can come in here and then check that box, and any busy event will appear as a busy event to Reclaim. Now, there's a twist to your question I think you asked for. You still wanted it to be possible to schedule appointments, tasks, and habits for that day. Tasks and habits, I can address. Appointments might be a little more of there's a lot of nuance to that statement, depending on if you mean appointments via scheduling links or just appointments that you're creating, by natively making an event in Outlook or Google Calendar. But one thing for you to know, if you're not aware of it, is that we have a really nice hashtag, and there's a bunch of different hashtags that you can put in, and this works in Outlook and Google. And if the event in the calendar has the hashtag Reclaim Free, then it will remain busy on the calendar, but it will present itself as available for scheduling of tasks and habits. And so that's a handy way for you to kind of present yourself as busy, but to the outside world, but still have Reclaim schedule things in there. A very natural question we also get related to this is, well, how about just personal tasks and habits and not work-related tasks and habits? That's a popular feature request. We don't currently support that, but that is on the roadmap. So I hope I've answered some of those questions there. Any other Outlook-related questions before we move on?
We do have another integration question. Is there a straightforward way to make sure to pull in iCloud?
Yeah, the truth is that our iCloud support, and to be really clear, when someone says iCloud, the calendar ecosystem is always pretty complicated. You could have Outlook that pull the application that pulls in Outlook, the calendar platform, as well as Google, the calendar platform, as well as iCloud, the platform. Apple Calendar can work the same way. Google Calendar, less so. When I hear iCloud, I'm assuming you're asking about someone who's using Apple's iCloud calendar platform, and all of your calendar events are managed on the Apple servers, for example. That is, I'd say we have minimum support for today. What you can do is if you go into the iCloud web interface and go to the calendar application in their web interface, you can get a feed. I think they call it a private feed, if I recall, and that will give you this little URL, and then you can go into either Outlook or Google and subscribe to that feed. Now that feed only gets updated anywhere between one and a few times a day. Google syncs with it less than Microsoft does. I think Microsoft's about every 8 hours. But either way, it's going to be slightly delayed and it's read only. But if you do subscribe to that feed, you can then come in here into Reclaim and connect that calendar over. And what that will do is it will make sure that Reclaim is aware of the busy events on those calendars. But it won't be able to schedule to them because it's a read-only calendar. And that's why I say we have minimum support for it. But it's not a bad way to go. And Henry just shared in the chat a help doc that covers that. We do have plans to support read and write and real-time Apple iCloud calendar support. and hopefully other calendar platforms in the future. One of the big investments we made in getting to Outlook support was to build an underlying platform that was generic and could have additional integrations in the future. So I know it's disappointing to hear that these other platforms aren't ready yet, but we've made a huge investment in the last year to get us to a point where they'll be easier to do in the near future. So stay tuned on that. All right. Elizabeth, I think, are we done on that one and ready to move on to?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here for 1 second and just switch to another Chrome tab. And I would like to, this is just one of my other accounts. I've got lots of demo accounts. Where did it go? This one is a very minimal demo account that we'll start with. So here we are looking at a Google Calendar account. Not a lot to say about it. But what is new, you saw it in the last screen share as well, is that we have this focus time section. This is in private beta, so the nav won't look like this for most of you. But if you're interested in participating in the private beta, just reach out in the in-product support chat, and we can guide you through it and get you started. The basic idea with focus is that what we saw with our customers is that a lot of people were using habits, not just to block out time for personal routines, for example, like exercise, but they were also using it to block out time for focus. In fact, you can see that we had a focus time habit. We still have it for people to use and protect their time so that they could get just heads down work done. Now, the thing probably you've observed if you've tried out habits is they're really nice because you can precisely define, the exact range of times, minimum and maximum times, when they should be free, when they should be defended. But they don't let you express goals that are maybe more generic around the desire to have focus and heads down time. And so, and as a result, they can't really be broken up into multiple pieces or consider your whole work week. And so what we want to show you is this new feature that we've built where you can say that you want, 20 hours of heads down time in a given week. And if you look in here, you can actually express, there's quite a few additional goals. I said 21, let me go ahead and drop that down to 20. And you can say, I don't ever want to get less than an hour, more than 4 hours. There's various settings. We're actually about to make some changes here. So Henry, you can keep me honest, or maybe it doesn't matter. We're gonna roll out the new updates in a moment. But I think in the next few days, you'll see some additional settings and tweaks to this screen. One of the big changes we're going to be making is an option to only block out the time when you're like near down to a minimum amount of free time. And so that's really good for people who are really need to remain available for meetings. This current implementation is I'd say more so for people who are really needing the time to be protected and marked as busy aggressively. So you can see a number of different options. You can customize the title. You can change the emojis if you want. You can have it consider what range of time to schedule on. By default, it's your working hours. And what you'll see here is we've gone ahead and scheduled those 20 hours. Oop, let me get rid of this out of office next week. We'll let that fill in. But here you can see my very simple work week. I've got a couple meetings each morning, big blocks of focus time, and then my lunch in the middle of the day. And what's cool is that this feature will naturally respond to other habits and focus time events that you put on your calendar. So the goal I set was 20 hours a week. But what if I come in here and I say, you know what, from 9 to 12:30, I'm going to do some more focus time. And this is just the native focus time that Google Calendar supports. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And what we're going to see happen is not only is my lunch habit going to respond to that, but Reclaim's new focus feature is going to naturally sum up and see that I already have some time that I created myself and recognize that it doesn't need some of the automated time because I'm achieving my goal. And so that's one of the nice things is it integrates in with both events you've created by hand as well as events that are automatically created, like working habits, for example. So it's a really great way to get just simple defense of your calendar. And what we're most excited about, I would say, is it's a great way to roll this out at an organizational level. And so I don't think, Henry, we're ready to demo this quite yet, but we're very close. We have a section where you can customize defaults for your team. We call it team templates. And so today you can set up habit templates, things you want to promote to your team, and they'll see these things when they onboard into your team, or when they go to the habit section, they'll see them as promoted habit templates. You can also fine tune the working hours for your organization and the meeting hours, the defaults that get used for our various features. Well, very soon here, there'll be a focus template as well. And that will let you promote the type of culture that you're trying to create in your organization. So if you're an engineering organization and you want to make sure you get at least 20 hours of heads down time, and you're hearing from your coworkers and colleagues and people on your team that they're not getting enough time, this would be a great way to promote and push those standardized settings down to everyone who's in your team. Henry, anything to add on this?
No, I mean, I think the only other thing, I think you sort of, talked about it, but just to be aware, if you're already using habits and tasks, and you can kind of see it in the stats breakdown, we're going to be making a ton of changes to this overview screen, so it'll be even clearer. But if you like hover over this week, you can kind of get a feel for it. Patrick, if you
Yeah.
hover over it.
Oh, yep. Yep.
So in this case, it's a very simple calendar. We don't have like any work habits or tasks, but
Just set one
basically
up. I can do that.
those work habits and tasks will count towards your focus time. So we're still trying to kind of figure out how we want, habits and tasks to play with focus, but our current model is anything that you've created and reclaimed that's for intentional work, tasks and habits, we consider that sort of eating up, your focus goal, and then focus will sort of fill out whatever's left in terms of the remainder. And similarly, as Patrick just showed, if you have a focus time event on your calendar within the range that you've set for focus time, or just a generic solo work event, like you blocked out your calendar and just said busy or get work done or something like that, will also count that towards your focus time goal.
Yes. So just an example, if I create a task that's a huge task, let's say I need 15 hours for this task. Right now it's just a bunch of focus time blocked out. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but the focus times just shrunk slightly when I created that habit. But now let's go ahead and say I have a huge task and I don't want to do it till this week of the 21st. And it's 15 hours. And we know the focus time goal was 20 hours. What we're going to see here in a moment is these focus time blocks are going to disappear, and they're going to get swapped out with a bunch of task time. And it's going to follow the standard task scheduling. Oops, I have that on a separate calendar, I believe. Let me see where. I think Google just didn't load it. There we go.
No.
It was on.
Yeah.
Google just didn't load it fast enough. All right. So just give you a sense of how as Henry is saying, how the capabilities intersect. Again, kind of underscoring visually what Henry was talking about in terms of the goals and the working hours. If I come over here to focus, remember I said during my working hours, which are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., I want to try to get 21 hours. That feels like a bug, Henry. I swear. Oh, I didn't click save. That's why. I should click save next time. And so the time, the habit that was created was between 8 and 6 a.m. The tasks that were created were between 8 and 6 p.m. But for example, if there's like a bunch of focus time, maybe it's something I'm doing on the weekend for personal projects, that won't contribute or count up towards that goal. That's at least how we're currently thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more? Oh, go ahead, Henry.
The only other thing I'd show is we also support auto decline on focus.
Yes.
And this is something that I'll start with the auto decline. So if you check that on, this is something that we already offer in habits today. And it's something that some of our users take advantage of. What we've heard from some of the early kind of testers of focus is they really wanted a way to convey to people like, hey, I really don't want you interrupting this focus time when it's on my calendar. And so there's a little default message in here that you can customize, and it'll email people and notify them when the meeting gets declined. I think where auto decline is going to get really powerful is when this other mode that Patrick referred to earlier. We're calling it internally like a circuit breaker. We'll probably call it something different when it's in the product. But it's essentially a way of saying, hey, rather than just filling up my calendar with focus time during the week, which some people prefer, only block out my calendar once I've reached X hours of free time for the day or the week. And so we'll kind of give you, one or both options. And so where auto decline gets really powerful there is you can imagine a day where you get 6 hours of meetings. Reclaim comes in and blocks out your last 2 hours for focus time. And now you have a little auto decline that says like, hey, these are my last 2 hours that I have to focus today. Please don't interrupt it. And it's sort of a way of making these things real inside the company. Because as you probably know, sometimes when you have a big busy event or focus time block on your calendar, people have almost been conditioned to just book over it. And we really want to like change the behavior of how people view these things. And so we want to make it more sensitive to your schedule. So auto decline is a really cool thing that we just added in the last couple days.
All right. Those are the big items. I don't, yeah, I'll put a note out just for folks if you're interested or a heavy habits user. We are going through, just a heads up, we're going through a major platform update right now. And one thing to be aware of is that the habits that you have on your calendar may or may not look like or I should say look like, they may or may not be literal recurring events. Some of you probably are on our last generation platform, which we launched last year, where your habits look like actual recurring events. You'll see it. It'll say like recurring Monday through Friday, and so on. And if you zoom way out in the future, you'll see those habits continuing out into the future because they're recurring events. We are moving to a model where each habit is going to be an individual event. There's a bunch of reasons. I'll spare you all the gory details for why we're doing that. But the long and short of it is that it's going to be a faster experience on both Microsoft and Google. Everything will synchronize faster. It'll be faster in the Reclaim planner, and the whole experience will be more reliable. While doing that, we also, you will note, cleaned up. If you're on the old platform, it probably looks a little different to you. We really simplified the description text inside of these habits. So you can see here, there's no description, or in some cases, there's very minimal description. And so that's just another nice improvement. And so you can go in and customize that. And a lot of folks I know were asking for just like less there. And it should look better as well on Apple Calendar, which is one of the few major calendar apps that doesn't render HTML. So that also should be quite a lot nicer. Okay. Anything else, or should we wrap up, Elizabeth?
I don't think we have any other questions. If you have any questions that you haven't asked or been too shy to ask, now is your moment. Otherwise, we might be able to give everyone a few minutes back of their morning. Let's see if any other questions come through. Oh.
Looks like we're good. And of course, we're always on the other side of that support chat. So do reach out.
We do
if you
have
want to get
one
in the
question.
beta. Oh, we do. All right, let's do it.
It's coming. 1 sec.
Okay.
I guess Luz is writing it. We do have a question from Christopher. When do we get access to the focus time feature?
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that. We are launching it generally, we hope, in the next few weeks, but don't give us some grace there, because it's a tricky feature and we want to get it just right. But if you would like access to the private beta, just reach out in the in-product support chat. Our team is more than happy to activate it for anyone, and we can do it pretty quickly. That's the fastest way to get it.
Okay, we do have another question here from Luz.
Sure.
How can we communicate to a coworker to not interrupt time and not see the time blocks as not really working?
Yeah, I think that really speaks to what Henry was referring to. this setting is where you're really going to sharpen up that the consequences of that.
Yeah.
But I will say there's a couple things going on here. Um, it is absolutely, unfortunately, in the modern work world, a common issue where people see focus time and they just say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and uh, schedule right over that. We have made the decision with focus time in the near future, with this what we're calling that circuit breaker mode. So that's not out right now. That's one of our last big projects on the scheduler we're adding. But with our habits and our tasks, we've already been doing this for a long time, and that is trying to bend the culture of calendaring inside of corporate environments to where they do respect those busy blocks. And one way you can do that is by having busy blocks only when you really need busy blocks. Because a very common thing is people schedule a lunch from 12 to 1, as a recurring event. And then everybody says, like, yeah, I know, but I got to schedule on top of that. But if you have something like a lunch habit that can dynamically adapt and turn busy or free, depending on your whole schedule, then we believe people are more likely to respect those busy events. So, for example, you'll notice here on this calendar, this one has a little shield on it, and it says, "Hey, there's Hal's got very little time left. Please find another time." Whereas this one has a little free emoji, and you'll notice it's private and free. So, if someone was looking for time to meet with me, here's what it'd look like to them. Let me show you the week calendar. They would see this. Notice the task blocks and the lunch blocks, some of them are not visible. This is one of the really great things about Reclaim Tasks and Reclaim Habits. And we want to bring this also to focus time. That's the circuit breaker component we're adding in, because focus time blocks on at least on Google Calendar can't be free. They either exist or they don't. And so what we're going to do is just not create them until just the kind of the last minute. So that's one way we can kind of just culturally help your organization better respect those focus time blocks. That's not perfect though. The next piece then, of course, is auto decline. And so if you couple that the busy block is only there when it really needs to be there, and you couple it with automatically declining, then you're going to start to really reinforce that culture. So again, even with lunch here, I can come in and I can say, you know what, uh, it's kind of messed up for someone to schedule on top of my lunch. Maybe all right, I need to drop it down to a shorter amount of time, like maybe even 15 minutes is all it has to be. But if it's defended, which you can see right here, time defense user claims AI, I want to auto decline that invite. And so now with this feature on for my habit, if someone books on top of the lunch and the lunch is busy, it will just decline it instantly. And what's great about that from a cultural standpoint is it wasn't really you that declined it. It was your agent, your assistant. And it creates a little bit of kind of distance around the conflict of you kind of saying, no, I can't do this thing. And gently reinforces that these busy blocks should be respected. And so we've seen it with our customers that if you really lean into habits, and we think soon focus as well, and you selectively enable that auto decline for the right things, you will start to shape the way your culture
Yeah.
is treating those events.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note is that, I think part of what conditions people to book over big uninterrupted blocks of time is that the blocks just say busy or they say focus time. One thing, and this is part of why we started with things like habits and tasks, and we're just now kind of getting to this world of like more kind of generic focus time blocking, is we believe that context matters a lot. And when people see events on your calendar that are earmarked for specific work, right? This is for me to get work done on my OKRs, or this is, time for me to get my weekly status report done. That has a meaningful difference in what people will see on the calendar. And so that's part of why we make these events public by default when they're marked as busy, because we want people to see those titles. The other thing, if you go back to the edit screen, Patrick, is that description there that says, when the habit's defended, we're going to show this description. You can customize this per habit. So you can say something like, hey, I use I use this thing that like blocks out my lunch at the last responsible moment. I have no other time to eat lunch today. So you can really like try to convey that to people. And it's, it's obviously you can do this kind of thing in Slack and over email, but like that's a lot of toil and it's a lot of distraction. And we'd love for the calendar to be doing that job for you. So those descriptions and titles and those auto decline messages, like all of that is like putting your calendar to work for you. And the free busy stuff behind the scenes is what's allowing you to kind of have like to be confident in saying like, no, I've actually done a pretty good job of leaving myself flexible for meetings. And now I have this thing that's pretty definitively saying like, I don't have any other times to move this thing. I've been as flexible as I can be. And now I need to like defend my time.
Yeah, and by the way, on that note, I realize we did not cover scheduling links, Henry. But scheduling links, I'll just briefly mention it. This can be for another webinar. Uh, a beautiful thing about Reclaim's platform is, in addition to all this free busy stuff we're talking about, we also know that especially when you're trying to meet with people outside your company,
Yeah.
it's really hard to coordinate times, and big busy blocks do not help with that at all. And so a beautiful thing with our scheduling links feature is that if you have a scheduling link that is marked at critical priority, this is important, it will overbook a focus time event or any other busy task or habit that is lower priority, but it'll also overbook any focus time event, whereas lower priority ones will not. And so be judicious about who you share your critical links with. Those ones will book on top of it. And this is by design to give you the ability to quickly choose what kind of availability you want to offer to folks externally.
Yeah.
So yeah, and by the way, also quick pro tip, has really nothing to do with focus, but if you haven't experienced the share and personalize workflow, you can also launch. And by the way, you can launch this from within Gmail natively, both desktop and mobile. And you can also launch it as a shortcut key on a Mac if you're using our Raycast integration. But this share and personalize workflow is really cool because it lets you do things like take one scheduling link and raise or lower the priority, or pre-fill in the recipient's email and name so it feels really personalized, or even recommend sometimes, say, these are sometimes I'd prefer. Really great options in there as well. And so on the priority side of things, you might have one link you use that's generally not critical, but then you want to share a critical version of that. And it's a great
Yeah.
way to go.
Yeah. I
Okay.
realized we forgot one other thing, or maybe a couple other things to mention that came out recently, and I was only reminded of it when you went through habits. Notification controls.
Ah,
Those
yes.
are those are like brand new.
They are, although they're still evolving slightly, well, unless the change came out. So related to this platform change I was mentioning about recurring events for habits versus individual single instances. Um, in our last version of our platform that some of you may still be on, if you wanted to control the notifications for your habit, you would come in here, make the change natively in Google Calendar, and then click Save for All, for example. Well, now that they're individual events, of course, you can't do that. And so where did it go? I know you saw it somewhere, Henry.
Scroll down. There we go. Right there. Up
I'm
top.
blind. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, good. And the latest update came in. We had a customer highlight that we couldn't disable notifications entirely. So by default, habits will just use the calendar's default reminders. So what we mean by that is in here, you can configure the defaults for your calendar. So any event on the calendar, you'll get a notification 10 minutes prior if you just sit with the defaults. And so you can by default, that's what we'll use, but you can disable them entirely. If you don't need to be reminded when to have lunch, that's fine. Great. Come in here and turn it off. If you need to customize it, maybe you just want to know 1 minute beforehand, you can also do that here. There are some subtle differences between this, the different settings you can do for Outlook versus Google, because Outlook has just different options. But just wanted to highlight that. Thank you for reminding me about that, Henry.
We do have a question about custom reminders for scheduling link meetings. I don't know if this is referring to a reminder that you want to send to your attendees. Like send an email. You can do that today with scheduling links. If you go
Where is
to
it?
uh,
I'm trying to remember where
gosh,
it is.
send reminder email to all attendees underneath hide link
There
on your
it
booking
is.
page. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can send one reminder. I don't know if you're looking to send more like a sequence. That's something that's come up in the past, like people who want to send, reminder a week before, and then reminder B a day before, that kind of thing. But currently, you can do this a certain number of hours before the event, and you can include your own message. The other thing while we're here, since I think we showed it last webinar, but I imagine these are different people on the webinar than were
Yeah.
on the previous one. Couple things to point out. If you scroll down a little bit, we have evolved our custom fields, like basically the custom questions you can ask people. There it is, custom fields. You can now ask many different types of questions and have different types of responses, including like things like radio buttons or drop downs. So if you want to give people multiple options, so you could go to if you go to the radio one, you'll see the different options appear, and you can give people are you booking for a demo? Are you booking for, are you an apple person, a banana person, an orange person, pear person? And so this is a really nice improvement. It's something that kind of comes up quite a bit. All these answers from your attendees that they answer these questions will get put into the descriptions of events, and then they're also exposed in webhooks in case you want to send them to other platforms. So you can take all that metadata and pipe it over to a spreadsheet or to your CRM or wherever you might be doing your work. And then the last thing I'll bring up on scheduling links at the very, very top, if you're using Round Robin, which is a great way to set up team links that allow you to kind of rotate between different people. The big thing that's coming very soon is this concept that we're calling preferred organizers or preferred round robin hosts. We're trying to figure out exactly what to call it. Essentially, this will allow you to say, hey, within this round robin pool, prefer booking with these people over these other people, right? So maybe a classic example would be like you're a startup, you've got a round robin that includes like 2 founders, 2 support engineers, and a salesperson. And these are for like customer demos or customer walkthroughs. And maybe you want to be like, hey, if you can, prefer booking with like the support engineers and the salesperson. And if not, fall back to booking with the founder on this round robin meeting. And so this is something that's coming fairly soon, and we're over time, so I'll stop talking.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Any final words?
Just some love. I said, for Mike, I just want to say thanks again to Patrick and the support team. I've had a bunch of weird issues and I felt very supported and taken care of. Really love the platform and very much looking forward to these features. A good high note to end on. Thank you so much for everyone coming out, making time on this Thursday, joining us. This video will be on our YouTube channel where we also have all of our previous founders webinars. So feel free to check those out on the channel, Reclaim.ai. Thank you so much for joining me, Patrick and Henry, as always. So appreciate it. And lots of good things to look forward to.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.